One of the biggest political scandals in American history is cracking wide open. Just when you thought the Mar-a-Lago raid was about classified documents, you might want to think again. New reports suggest it was really about hiding the Democrats' corruption, and guess who's connected? Controversial judge James Boasberg. More on that in just a minute. And as always, please make sure you like and subscribe to the channel. Let's rewind to the lie pushed from the highest levels of the Obama White House. The goal? Stop Donald Trump before he was even sworn in. Overturn the will of the people, all while lecturing us about threats to democracy.
Obama's hands are on this. And what is he doing now? He's over here with his wife doing a podcast, walking without flip-flops on the beach, acting like his whole career was everything and a bag of chips. It wasn't. It was the most corrupt presidency we've ever seen. We thought Joe Biden was bad. Now we know who was behind it all. It was Barack Hussein Obama, and we need answers.
And he wasn't alone. The scandal didn't stop at Obama. It included John Brennan, James Tapper, Jim Comey, Hillary Clinton, Joe Biden, and Susan Rice. The whole crew pushed a bogus story that Trump was a Russian asset. Here's James Comey lying through his teeth to Congress in 2017.
There should be no fuzz on this whatsoever. The Russians interfered in our election during the 2016 cycle. They did it with purpose. They did it with sophistication. They did it with overwhelming technical efforts, and it was an active measures campaign driven from the top of that government. There is no fuzz on that. It is a high confidence judgment of the entire intelligence community, and the members of this committee have seen the intelligence. It's not a close call. That happened. That's about as unfake as you can possibly get, and is very, very serious.
Total fiction. This hoax resulted in years of impeachments and indictments and media hysteria, all sparked by a lie. And John Brennan? He was one of the chief architects of the entire setup. President Trump called him out back in 2020.
John Brennan was one of the architects, in my opinion. You look at Brennan, you look at Clapper, you look at them all. But ultimately, the president knew everything. The president knew everything. President Obama and Vice President Biden, they knew everything.
And Comey and Brennan and Clapper, they all were terrible, and they lied to Congress. They spied on my campaign, which is treason. They spied both before and after I won.
And I've got some new details on how the Democrats spied on the president's campaign in just a second. But first, here's a quick refresher on how this whole thing went down.
A political party would go overseas and acquire fake foreign intelligence from a foreign intelligence officer funded by donations to that political party in the United States of America, then take that material, package it, walk it to the FBI, literally, and say, hey, we need you to surveil the opponent of our political party who happens to be running for the president of the United States, then convince the FBI to go into a secret federal FISA court that I used to use to manhunt terrorists and say, hey, I need you to wiretap, essentially, all the comms in and around Trump camp because of the material we gave you, and then have that FBI lie to the federal court and the judge in that warrant application, which is a felony, and intentionally remove information of innocence from that application just to get it above the threshold so the judge would sign it. That's Russiagate.
That FBI agent, Kevin Kleinsmith, he doctored an email to falsely say Trump advisor Carter Page wasn't a source for the CIA, clearing the way for more surveillance. Now, special counsel John Durham, he caught Kleinsmith red-handed, and what Kleinsmith did, by the way, is a felony. But he only faced a slap on the wrist because the case went before leftist judge James Boasberg, who ignored the request of prison time. This is the same judge that initially put a halt to Trump's deportation flights and still sits at a desk actively trying to stop President Trump's agenda. Now, documents just released by the DNI show that on August 31st, 2016, a Homeland Security official tells then Director of National Intelligence James Clapper that there was no indication of a Russian threat to directly manipulate the actual vote count. On September 9th, officials argue the presidential daily brief should make clear that Russia, quote, probably is not trying to influence the election by using cyber means to target election infrastructure. Well, then in December, things drastically changed. In a December 9th president's daily briefing, again, it was shown that Russia was not interfering with our election. That daily brief, however, was never published. Instead, a secret meeting was called.
Hours before it would have gone into President Obama's President's Daily Brief, it was pulled by a senior level intelligence official saying that they had to pull it because they had received new guidance. The very next day, this meeting was called, a National Security Council meeting, bringing together all of the senior leaders of President Obama's cabinet, and the topic that was put forward was a sensitive matter. The tasks that came out of that meeting was coming from President Obama directing the intelligence community, then Obama's ODNI director Clapper, to produce a document, to produce an intelligence assessment that detailed not if, but how Moscow affected the outcome of the election that had already occurred, electing Donald Trump to the presidency.
The document that they published was the foundational groundwork that they continued to reference to enact the years-long lawfare against Donald Trump. And here's Obama, just days later, delivering a carefully scripted cover.
We will provide evidence that we can safely provide, that does not compromise sources and methods. But I'll be honest with you, when you're talking about cybersecurity, a lot of it is classified and we're not going to provide it because the way we catch folks is by knowing certain things about them that they may not want us to know. And if we're going to monitor this stuff effectively going forward, we don't want them to know that we know. Unless the American people genuinely think that the professionals in the CIA, the FBI, our entire intelligence infrastructure are less trustworthy than the Russians, then people should pay attention to what our intelligence agencies say.
Translation: believe our fake narrative or you're a Russian sympathizer. I mean, the left tries to fearmonger and threaten you into submission. And the media, they helped carry the water.
What people don't know about Russiagate that weren't paying attention was that warrant that initially kicked off the FISA surveillance on the Trump campaign writ large was substantiated by FBI leaks to the media. Two of the articles cited in that warrant from, I think, Mother Jones and Yahoo News were leaks of information from the same leadership at the FBI, Peter Strzok, Andy McCabe, James Comey and company. And then they, in the application, would be like, hey, it's not just us saying that Trump's a Russian asset, right? Look at this article, Mr. Judge, on the federal FISA court. And they included it in that application. So this was a coordinated conspiracy to take down your political opponent by weaponizing government.
Here's the first article Kash Patel was referencing by Mother Jones, who wrote this headline, quote, "A veteran spy has given the FBI information alleging a Russian operation to cultivate Donald Trump." Then Yahoo News echoed the claim, writing, quote, "Reports detail Trump campaign's alleged ties to Russia." And major news networks wonder why they're bleeding support. I mean, they called Trump a Russian asset, yet it was Trump who armed Ukraine with javelins while Obama just sent them blankets. So who's really in bed with Putin by those standards? Now this bombshell. Reports suggest the real reason for the Mar-a-Lago raid was not classified documents, but to seize the files Trump had, proving there was never any collusion. Just one problem. Trump didn't have the letter, at least not at Mar-a-Lago. According to Tulsi Gabbard, Kash Patel may have the answers we're now searching for, and we know he has already opened an investigation into what is being called a grand conspiracy.
By treating it as a conspiracy, you eliminate the 5-year statutes on individual crimes. If something happened in 2016, but it was part of an ongoing conspiracy that continued with Jack Smith raiding Donald Trump's home at Mar-a-Lago, it can be charged in the larger conspiracy, even though if you tried to charge it in an individual case, you wouldn't get it. Furthermore, you could also change the venue. Remember the troubles John Durham had bringing prosecutions in Washington, D.C.? Jurors wouldn't convict, even if they thought there was criminality going on. In this case, you could pick a place like Florida, where Jack Smith did the raid on Donald Trump's Mar-a-Lago house, and say that's where we're putting the grand jury. You get a more fair jury pool, a more fair grand jury pool. It gives Pam Bondi, the Attorney General, an enormous amount of flexibility to do something historic.
Gabbard also shared this morning that all documents that she's released so far have been referred to the DOJ and FBI for a criminal referral.
I will do all that I can, and we have whistleblowers, actually, Maria, coming forward now after we release these documents, because there are people who were around, who were working within the intelligence community at this time, who were so disgusted by what happened. We're starting to see some of them come out of the woodwork here, because they too, like you and I and the American people, want to see justice delivered. So we're going to provide everything that we have, everything that we will continue to gather to the Department of Justice for that direct intent and that direct purpose. There must be indictments, those responsible, no matter how powerful they are and were at that time, no matter who was involved in creating this treasonous conspiracy against the American people, they all must be held accountable. In my view, we have the evidence to be able to move forward and bring about justice, yes, to prosecute and indict those responsible.
More explosive documents are set to drop next week. As always, I will look out for it and bring it to you as soon as I have it. In the meantime, let's shift gears to Trump's latest legal brawl, Trump versus Murdoch. That's right, the media soap opera just turned legal. Trump is suing Rupert Murdoch, News Corporation, and the Wall Street Journal over a sleazy Epstein-linked story. Now, the Journal is claiming a racy birthday note in Epstein's 2003 album was signed by Trump, complete with a sketch of a naked woman. Trump's response? These are not my words. Also, I don't draw pictures. Even CNN is slamming the publication.
Here's what I think went on here. I'll just cut to the chase. I think somebody leaked this birthday book to the Wall Street Journal with conditions. And by the way, we should find out who that leaker was if they're in the government. Whatever you may think of Trump, whoever may have leaked information that's in a DOJ file, we can't have that. But my theory is they go to the Journal and they say, hey, I'm going to show you this. Not giving you a copy. You can't have it, but I'll show it to you. I'll authenticate it, and you can then run with it. And then the Journal has a decision to make. Are we going to print something without being able to actually show it to the public? And they decided that they would. I don't know that that was the right call. In fact, I think that it wasn't.
Trump took to social media writing in part, quote, breaking news, we have just filed a powerhouse lawsuit against everyone involved in publishing the false, malicious, defamatory fake news article in the useless rag that is the Wall Street Journal. We have proudly held to account ABC and George Sloppodopoulos, CBS and 60 Minutes, the fake Pulitzer Prizes, and many others who deal in and push disgusting lies and even fraud to the American people. This lawsuit is filed not only on behalf of your favorite president, me, but also in order to continue standing up for all Americans who will no longer tolerate the abusive wrongdoings of the fake news media. I hope Rupert and his friends are looking forward to the many hours of depositions and testimonies they will have to provide in this case. Thank you for your attention to this matter. We will make America great again. Well, Senator Bernie Moreno, he says the scandal is all an attempt to change the narrative.
This story is a tabloid sensation. Look, you have a very important show. I think a lot of people watch it. You spent half your show already talking about a fake story that the Wall Street Journal published. This isn't what journalism's intended to be. Let's talk about what the winning that we're doing for the American people. Here's a sad reality, honestly, is that the Democrats with the media have tried to change the topic from the fact that we have the most secure border in American history, that we just passed the most consequential bill that puts $7,500 in the pockets of working Americans, that we've lowered inflation, egg prices are down, gas prices are down, we have stability all over the world, we're starting to cut the deficit, we just passed the first crypto legislation in American history. We're winning on every count. The Democrats don't want to talk about any of this because they're wrong on every front.
Winning never gets old unless you're on the other side of it. So from Russiagate to Mar-a-Lago to these Epstein headlines, I mean, this isn't just media malpractice, it's a coordinated political hit job. But the truth is finally coming out, and it looks like the tables are finally turning. As always, you know I will stay on top of the latest developments and bring you the news as soon as I get it. In the meantime, check out this next video of the Democrats absolutely humiliating themselves, from claiming a PTSD diagnosis to Adam Schiff telling the president to bleep off. it's a head scratcher. Plus, I have the latest information on President Trump's recent health hoax, the Dems cooked up, as usual, and who is getting the axe in the new rescissions package. Just go ahead, click on that video you see now on your screen, and I'll see you over there. Thanks for watching.